Well, in this video tutorial, I'm going to try and show you how to open a new Google Doc and then some of the things you can do with this very powerful part of the Google suite of applications. Google Docs is basically Google's version of Microsoft Word, but it has a number of really important features which allow real-time collaboration, for example, which is much trickier in an online Word document. So let's have a look. We go to New. We're in Drive, incidentally, and that's the best way to open a new Google document. Click on New, and I don't want a new folder. Click New, and I'm going to choose Google Documents. I have the option of a blank document or a document from a template. I'm going to choose blank document, and that will hopefully open fairly quickly. The document is as yet untitled, and as soon as I give it a title, like J's Docs Demo, that title there will be saved automatically by Google Docs. Okay, well, a quick whiz around. It's a fairly familiar looking interface. These are the shortcuts along the top: undo, redo, print, don't know what that one is, paint format, zoom, the type of text that you want, the font size, bold, italic, underline, and so on. Here you've got a shortcut to inserting a link, so you can type some text and then insert a link. Here you can add a comment to the document, and here the shortcut to adding an image, either from the web or from your Google Drive, from Photos, by pasting in a URL, or indeed taking a picture on your laptop or device camera. Here we've got the justification of the text and numbered lists, bullet points, and so on. Over here, even more tools that you can use in Google Docs. Apart from the shortcuts, you've got menu items up here, such as Insert, and then you go back, Image, a table, and you can choose the dimensions of the table, the number of rows and columns, and simply click to insert. You can insert a drawing, you can insert a chart, and here are your different types of charts that you can add. Again, down here you've got a link, you've got other features from that insert menu. Down here you've got a format where if you wanted, for example, to put columns into your document, you can go to 2 columns or 3. You can add a header, a footer, and so on. And then I'll leave you to explore these tabs along the top. These are the tools such as word count, dictionary, and this one I quite like. It's called voice typing. I'll give it a quick go. Click the microphone. This is how Google Docs translates your voice into text. Well, I think that's quite impressive, but I'm just going to close that now and remove this line of text. Very simply, like that. And one of the first things to say is that you can use Google Docs just as you would use any other word processing application, such as Microsoft Word, where you can, as I said, you can change the font, you can change the size of the font, you can change the text color to any color you like. So it's a word processing tool as well as everything else that it offers. Again, you can insert images very simply. So I could upload an image from my computer. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a nice picture of, I think here, a couple of our national politicians. So that's an image of Boris and Michael together. And one thing while we're on the subject of images, you'll notice the way it's configured itself inside the text there. I can use this wrap text feature and then move that image to anywhere else I like on the text, so that the text wraps around the picture or vice versa. You'll notice that when I have an image and it's highlighted, I have a number of options. I could crop the image down here. I have other options, I think. Let's go to there. And oh yeah, on the right, this image option pane opens. So I could recolor, I can adjust the transparency, the brightness and the contrast. So nothing much new here that you don't have in any other word processing application. I'm going to get rid of my masterpiece to date. And bye, fellas. And I now have a blank document again. Well, I'm just going to pause while I type a couple of things into the document. I'm going to create a student task sheet. And this task sheet could be something that students complete individually, or later on, I'll show you how we can get them to collaborate in real time or otherwise on building an answer together as members of a student team. Before I do that, I'm going to insert a header to my document, and I'll just click header, and then I'm going to click insert image. I'm going to upload it from my computer, and I'll go down here until I find something I think I have, like Acacia Learning, and I can open that image. It comes out way too big, so I will reduce the size of that down to about that size. Now that will now appear on each of the pages of my document. So I've typed in student task sheet, and I have a header here with the Acacia Learning logo. So for the purposes of this question and this task sheet, I'm now going to click here, insert, and I'm choosing table. And I'm going to choose 2 columns and 6 rows. And I simply click down at the bottom right, highlighted square. And there is my table. Now I'm going to move the center line across here, like that. Simply click and drag. And then I'm going to highlight these 2 cells at the top, right click, and merge those cells so that my table now looks like this. And I'm going to put some text in this box. Before I do though, I'm going to make it look a bit prettier. Right click and going down here until I find table properties. Now, okay, we'll give it a table border like that. And there's the green table border with all the lines highlighted in green. But I'm going to do that again this time. And now back to table properties, I'm going to choose the cell background color for the cells where my cursor is. And I'll choose a pastel green shade. And so now I have a table that looks a bit better. I could do the same thing with these cells and right click, oops, beg your pardon, right click, table properties, cell background color, and choose that same green. Oops. And OK. And there's my table as it stands at the moment. To save time, if you wanted to use a similar format for another question, you could just highlight this table, copy the whole table. Oops, here we go. Copy the whole table and scroll down a little bit and give yourself a bit of space, and then paste back in. Change the title to something else. Try and get my spelling right. And you can see how that works. So it actually can be very quick to build a Google Docs task sheet. If you wanted to give your learners a little bit of help, you could, of course, put in a hyperlink here. It'll come up with its own suggestions. I already have one that I want to use, so I click apply. And now students working through the task sheet have access to some resources as well to help them on their way. Okay, well, in the next part of this video tutorial, I'm going to show you one of the most powerful features of Google Docs and something that differentiates it quite clearly from other word processing applications, and that is this function here, the share function. Well, now I'm going to show you the share feature of Google Docs, and this blue box up here says share. If I click it, it says the document is currently private to me only. So if I click on that again, I could decide to get a shareable link and send that link to as many people as I like. They would then be able to access and edit the document if I give them permission. Alternatively, I can enter specific people into the document. But before I do that, I'm just going to show you this little drop-down box here, which is where you can decide whether people you share with can edit or comment on your document or simply view it. And the other thing I'm going to do is show you this advanced feature, which opens up a number of other options and displays more information about my document. So here we are. At the moment, it's private only to me, and I can change that here. You'll see who has access because they'll be listed here. Up here is the link to share with others if I need to do that. Okay, well, I'm going to invite a couple of people to work with me on this document. So I'll just pause while I enter some emails. So you'll see I've added 2 collaborators, and before I click send, I have the option here to add a message if I want to, and to send a copy to myself if I want to. Okay, I'm going to click send. And now you'll see the screen has changed so that I can see the list of collaborators down here. Just check their permissions. They can edit as I requested, and it'll be the same one here. It'll show me here as the owner. Now all I have to do is to click done, and there we are, back to my document. Okay, well, when I go up here, I'll now see that my document is shared with 2 people, and I know who they are. I'm just going to log into one of the accounts who I invited to be a collaborator with me. While I do that, I'll just pause the video. I've now logged into that other account here, which I called Lloyd Shorthair, after my cat, who's called Lloyd, and he's a short-haired cat. Here's the email, and if I look at the message here, I see Jay's Docs demo there. If I click on that, it's going to take me directly into that document that I shared as the original me. Several things have happened. I'm logged in as Lloyd Shorthair, and any entry I make will have a pink cursor. If you remember, my original account, J Online, was a green cursor. So at any time, we know who's entering text into the document. You'll also see up here that I can see who's collaborating on the document at any particular time. And whilst I'm here, if I click this little icon here, it opens a chat box. And there are 2 of us in this conversation, and we can simply enter messages here, hit enter, and up comes the message. So we can chat about what we want to include in the document. The other feature of Docs to note is this little pencil up here, and if I click that, it allows me to choose my mode of entering text. If I want to be in edit mode, anything I write in that document becomes permanent unless I delete it. But there's also something called suggesting mode. If I click on that, this turns green, and anything I write in there is a suggestion. So if I write labour market trends, Brexit, it shows as the collaborator entering that text, but it's not yet permanent until somebody has agreed it. So in this box here, people can reply to my posting, and it's not permanent, as I say, until somebody agrees it. And I'll show you how that works when I go back to the other account. Stay with me here. I've gone back to my original account, the creator or owner of the document, and I can see Lloyd Shorthair's suggestion here. It's Brexit, and it's in pink. Now, I could either add Brexit, or I can come up here and I can either accept the suggestion or I can reject the suggestion. If I wanted to put in a comment before I make my decision, I could write, is this a trend, rather than a phenomenon? So I'm looking for trends here. So Brexit, I don't think it's a trend. And I've said that to Lloyd Shorthair, and I can reply. And it shows there exactly what I've done. Lloyd can reply to me, and at the end of it, if we agree, we can accept that suggestion. The green suggestion mode goes away, and that has now become an agreed and permanent part of the document. Not to say you can't delete it, but it's now in there as an agreed feature. Well, you get the idea. And if I just come down now to this second box here, I've just typed in there, I don't know much about dismissal in the chat box. And I just hit enter, and that goes up there into the chat box. Jay Glover saying, I don't know much about dismissal. Incidentally, note that we can see who's made those comments. Well, never fear, Jay Glover, because there is here a link to dismissal and reasons for fair and unfair dismissal. Once we are suitably informed, we can then go on to complete the document. And then, of course, once it's done, this can be a permanent record of our interaction and our collaboration, and I can decide to make a copy of this, to download it as a Word document if I so wish, or to print it. And those are the options, really useful options to keep a record of that collaboration in Google Documents. Now, of course, collaboration doesn't have to be in real time, just between Lloyd Shorthair and Jay Glover. You'll note that Tristan Callahan hasn't yet joined the conversation, but when he does, and if he does, then he'll see this document as it currently stands, and will be able to make comments, make suggestions, and add his own ideas to our collaborative document created and shared with Google Docs, a really very powerful tool in the classroom and outside.